For Wednesday, January 8th, I'm Chris Brogan, and welcome to this, which is called The Brief. This is where I share some news and some ideas and stuff that I've been seeing out on the web and give you some thoughts about how this might impact your stories, your trends, your culture. Let's get started. I said let's get started. Okay, this is interesting. A pilotless air taxi from China's Ehang takes flight in the US for the first time. So not only is there the opportunity that you can fly around in a pilotless drone vehicle, but it'd be like an air taxi. Would you get your butt inside a chair with no human on board and let it fly you around? And if the answer is no, what makes it any different when it's on the ground? Is it the fact that there's vertical climb as well? It's definitely worth thinking about. That's reported in TheVerge.com. New Scientist has a report. This is interesting in the sense that it's science. Cuttlefish wearing 3D glasses prove that they can sense depth just like us. So, in case you were ever wondering, hey, can a cuttlefish see in all the dimensions like we do? It turns out you can watch a little video showing that cuttlefish can sense depth. That's pretty important for you. I can't actually show you this story. Well, look, thank you, Business Insider, for making things harder to look at. I'll just look at your beautiful heads, though. This is a story about a new streaming service that is launching shortly called Quibi. Meg Whitman and Jeffrey Katzenberg, famous people you might know, are behind it. This is a streaming service that will shoot quick bites, thus Quibi. And so they're going to pay for sort of less than 10-minute pieces of content. Quibi. It remains to be seen where this goes. It's taking on the ideas of things like TikTok and all that, but it's created by fancy people. And so my feeling is that it's going to have a challenge unless it allows for creator-generated content. Because on the one side, when it's curated, you know that it's going to be slightly better content. But on the other side, if you can't participate, what's going to keep people wanting to come to it? That's the trend question, right? Are we going to only go to places where we consume? Are we going to only go to places where we create? Or are we going to go to places where there's a mix of both available? You and I can't put a show up on Netflix, but we all still use it. Is Quibi going to be another thing we're going to put onto our devices and be excited about for seeing 10-minute or less video clips? Business Insider, make it easier to look at your good stuff. Quit it. All right, this is Leafly talking about the fact that CES show in Vegas, where it is totally legal for recreational and medicinal cannabis, has banned all cannabis talk in Las Vegas. So they pulled out a few different tech companies. They said that they were not allowed to actually have any companies on the floor selling tech about cannabis of any kind. And they said that, CES organizers said cannabis acceptance isn't widespread yet. I guess 21 U.S. states doesn't count. CES organizers prohibited this lab from mentioning the word cannabis, showing cannabis in their promotional materials, or discussing what the device does. So it says we don't allow pornographic, and we don't allow content where children are killed, and we don't allow anything with vaping. So now marijuana is in this pile as well, because I guess maybe pornographically kids get killed vaping using cannabis. I don't know. I'm only pointing that story out because I think that trend-wise, it's interesting in the United States at least, and in several other countries, cannabis is becoming more legal. It is becoming less of a big issue for people, and yet the largest consumer tech show in the world pulled back. This one's just a holy cow, that's a lot of money. Clash of Clans, which is a mobile game that you can play for free, made $727 million in 2019, which is better than its take in 2018. I don't know why we keep getting so interested in seeing reports of box office openings of movies when we can see things like this. So last year alone, this video game, who has been out for years, made $727 million. That is $727 million. Speaking of the film industry, though, it turns out that Vanity Fair reports that it is not just The Irishman, but that women in films talked less overall in 2019. The Irishman, it was very notorious. I forget what the number was, but it was remarkably bad. Let's see. This year brought the number of female leads to a recent historic high of 40%. 40% female leads, 9% increase from last year. But then it says, but female characters spoke less at the movies. Only 34% of all speaking roles went to women, a decrease of 1%. Let's see. That's interesting. If there's more female leads but fewer of them are speaking, they're just standing around, I guess. 45% of female protagonists showing up in studio films, and 55% making their appearance in indie films, but there's still so much more to be gained. So pretty interesting. And then when we get into the racial breakdown, it gets a little more interesting still. But it's 2019 and we're still having trouble giving women a voice in film, just FYI. Now, just a blast from the past. If you remember, do you ever remember ZeFrank at the height of his career in 2006, 2007 in the ZeFrank's The Show? I got a piece of news today that he has released a new song called The Ostrich Song, which you can find at Bandcamp. You have to just go find zefrank.bandcamp.com and you can find his song called The Ostrich Song. I won't share any with you right now, but it's definitely worth it. It's kind of a cute little song and you can buy it for $1. So check it out. That is what I had to cover with you in the brief today. I'm Chris Brogan. Thank you so much for this. If you want to learn anything more about me, swing over to storyleader.design and you can find out more about me, the things that I think are interesting, and I will cover with you whatever you find curious and interesting going forward. By the way, blizzard outside all of a sudden. Oh, and I got a haircut.